Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Schmozone podcast, episode number 61. I'm Dave Schmulenson, a.k.a. the Schmo. My co-host is...
Helen Yee with Helen Yee Sports.
There it is. And we are here, back at it, another week. Exciting guest, Mackenzie Dern. Man, she jumped up. She's now the number 5 ranked UFC Strawweight. She will be joining us shortly. Impressive victory. Another performance bonus. Beating Nunes over there at UFC Vegas 23. So we will play that for you shortly. And yeah, another exciting week.
Yeah, another exciting week, upcoming week of fights and previous weekend of great fights, which it was a bit different because it was a daytime fight card that we covered.
Yes. So this weekend, I thought we'd have a little dilemma here. Do we go to the Ben Askren-Jake Paul boxing fight in Atlanta, or we have Kelvin Gastelum against Robert Whittaker, which is a fight I was super stoked for a couple years back. Glad the cards fell the way they did, and we get to see this fight actually unfold, which Marvin Vettori beat this weekend. We were there against Kevin Holland. Well, I want to get to that storyline shortly because teammates, Marvin Vettori and Kelvin Gastelum, potential showdown there, which I think is not talked about enough, but we can get to that shortly. We don't have the issue, though, of having to go to Atlanta because there are no media allowed at the Triller event, so we'll make sure that we watch that inside the UFC Apex while watching UFC Vegas 24, Kelvin Gastelum, Robert Whittaker.
Do you think a lot of people will be watching that fight?
I think a lot of people will be watching that fight, especially from the MMA community side. They're going to cheer. We're going to cheer for their own Ben Askren. That's got to be there. And then just this whole other side, people will be cheering for and against Jake Paul. Let me rephrase this. I'm not cheering for Ben Askren, and I'm not cheering for Jake Paul. I'm cheering for pure entertainment because that's exactly what this is. I just want to see a great fight, and I really don't have a dog in the fight as in who wins. I just want to be entertained, and I feel like I'm going to be entertained by this fight.
I feel like I've already been entertained just watching this build up to that fight, starting with when we interviewed Ben and we brought him to our upcoming studio, right? And then also that press conference. I mean, Ben Askren, I must say, has done a stellar job at promoting this event and making it very entertaining. Even today, I think on his Instagram, he posted like about a face mask and you just, there's like a...
I'm surprised it took so long for someone to have like the little zip up so you could sip a coffee or drink a water or anything like that during... wearing a mask without taking the straps off your ears. So, I mean, yeah, he's pure entertainment. Jake Paul is also pure entertainment.
Of course,
so it's going to be great. But we get the best of both worlds because we get to watch the UFC fights this weekend.
Yes, we've been waiting a while for that because they were booked before. And then, unfortunately, I know, I believe Robert Whittaker, he got ill that weekend. So then now... here we are, 2021, and that fight's happening.
And what's crazy, too, because that's what led to the interim fight between Kelvin Gastelum and Israel Adesanya. Yes. Just that matchup never materializing in Atlanta at UFC 236.
And you just had your 2-year anniversary of asking the press conference.
And that was about 2 years ago. So it was the anniversary. That was 2 years ago, that fight. An amazing fight. So the question I have for everybody listening is, who are passionate MMA fans listening, is who fought Israel Adesanya better? Marvin Vettori when he was young, 20-something, or Kelvin Gastelum?
Ooh, well, when you mentioned that, and earlier you mentioned the fact that eventually could they ever fight each other because they're both up there in the ranks. You spoke to Marvin, and did he kind of give you a clear answer when you spoke to him the other day?
Marvin's an intense guy. I was the one to interview him after he'd weighed in, after the ciabatta bread was stolen by Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland stole his ciabatta bread before the face-offs.
It's good bread.
It's great antics. Love that, too. And ciabatta bread is good bread. Very tasty for those bread enthusiasts out there.
Is it ciabatta or ciabatta?
Maybe it's ciabatta. I can't speak.
Ciabatta. Tomato.
It doesn't matter because it both tastes good. Yeah. So I think that I alluded to it. I'm like, hey, you take care of business. Calvin takes care of business against Robert Whittaker, assuming that happens. Like, who gets precedent to fight Israel Adesanya next? Because both those guys put their names in the hat. Both those guys share the same gym, share the same head coach in Rafael Cordero, Kings MMA, Huntington Beach, and also share the same manager in Ali. It's good problems to have. And those two, I can't imagine, would fight each other unless a belt is on the line. But it's going to be very interesting to see if Calvin beats Robert Whittaker and he beats him convincingly. Like, you can make an argument for him because, yes, Marvin was impressive, but it went all 5 rounds and went to a decision. And it was a lopsided decision, but it wasn't a finish. It still took 25 minutes. So it'd be interesting to see what happens next for the opponent of Israel Adesanya, because Israel said, he's told this to me in the press conference, the most deserving would be Darren Till if he beats Marvin Vettori, which obviously didn't happen because Darren Till got injured.
Hopefully his collarbone is healing up okay. But if you're Israel, you have options.
It's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
And if you're the UFC, if you're the matchmakers, you're Dana White. This is good. This is a good problem to have. It's competitive. I'm excited to see what happens with Paulo Costa next, because I think Derek Brunson's been calling him out nonstop. So maybe that's that fight next in that situation. But things are starting to shape their way out in the middleweight division. I know Edmund Shabazian, who Derek Brunson beat recently, he's got a fight coming up here shortly. There's a lot of good things shaping up in the UFC middleweight division, along with other divisions like the bantamweight division, which I'm excited for too. Randomly, I'm excited. May 8th, TJ Dillashaw against Corey Sandhagen. I'm very excited for that fight. I know that's a few weeks down the road, but I just want to throw that out there. And then obviously we will be in Jacksonville, UFC 261, 3 championship fights. Very excited for that. Life is good if you're an MMA fan.
Exactly. So many great things ahead. But kind of circling back to you mentioning TJ Dillashaw, I think, do you kind of have that soft spot because he was one of the first or the first that you've interviewed when you first kind of came in this MMA space? Because I know your background, we all know, was NFL, NBA.
Yeah, of course I have a soft spot for TJ Dillashaw. That's why you said that. He was the first MMA fighter, UFC fighter for that matter too, that I've ever interviewed. I have ever done the Schmo versus the pro with and the Schmo and the pro with. He embraced the character, open arms. I trained with him. He beat the crap out of me. Literally, he really did.
Yeah, your knee.
Yeah, he beat him.
Still hurting?
It's great, but it's not hurting. And actually, great segue into that. Let's talk about today's sponsors. I'm wearing the shirt. I got the Fusion CBD sports water. It's Fusion CBD products. I got the Instant Freeze. We just did a workout. I rub this stuff on my knees after the workouts. CBD post-recovery, it's the way to go. Love using their products. FusionCBDProducts.com. 20% off using the promo code Schmo. Check it out. And yeah, my knee's healed. I did PRP treatment, and obviously using a healthy regimen to CBD, it truly helps me. And we did have an intense workout this morning because you've been listening to the podcast. We know Helen is training for the Olympic trials. So we train together with a really strong trainer weekly, and Helen is getting stronger every week. So I have to make sure that she doesn't beat me in the Metcons, because then I won't hear it for the entire week. And to date, she hasn't, knock on wood. So I have to be intense, and I use my CBD to recover.
You only beat me by 30 seconds today?
If the weights were even, it would be a different story. But you're right. We can say only 30 seconds.
If I could lift the weights that you could lift, which hopefully eventually, then I would probably be able to qualify for the Olympic trials then.
I would hope you'd place and get a medal, whether it's bronze, silver, or gold.
Then I'd be an Olympian.
Yes.
One step at a time, but definitely putting all my effort, everything that I have into it. So at least the strength and conditioning side, because we all know, unfortunately, pools are still not truly open to the public or swim teams. So just kind of been on my own with that right now.
Yes. We're doing what we can given the circumstances, but things seem to be opening up and on the up and up. And the other sponsor for today's podcast, you wear their products, I wear their products, Sheath Underwear, the most comfortable underwear ever worn in my life. The anatomical isolation that separates the balls and the shaft. Really cool, unique packaging. Obviously, you don't have that as a female, but the material is extremely comfortable, stretchy, elastic. It's fantastic. Robert Patton, the guy who created it, Iraq war veteran, hot, muggy over there, balls sticking to the skin. How can we fix this? He engineers something. He's innovative. He creates the sheath product. Love the story behind it. I rep it. Michael Bisping's the one who got me onto it. So check him out. Sheathunderwear.com. Promo code Schmo. 20% off. You won't be disappointed.
And if you do have a special lady in your life, you're not out of luck because, like David mentioned, they do make a great women's line. I love it. It's really comfortable and it's cute.
Stylish. Very stylish. So check it out. And today's guest is Mackenzie Dern. She jumped a lot of spots. We're going to ask her who she wants to fight next, when she wants to get back at it. We're going to talk to her about all the things that are important for her riding this 4-fight winning streak.
And the upcoming title fight between Weili and Rose Namajunas right around the corner.
Let's start the interview.
1, 2, 3.
Today's guest is the number 5 ranked UFC strawweight in the world. She's coming off her 4th straight victory, beating Nina Nunes at UFC Vegas 23. And I believe 3 of those 4 victories have been performance of the nights and first round submissions. The one and only Mackenzie Dern. Thanks for joining us.
Yay. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm so happy. This is like the first interview I'm doing after the fight, so I'm really happy. And I'm excited to answer the questions and really tell like kind of people where I'm thinking to be the champ and what's in the future.
I appreciate that. Yeah, you jumped 6 spots in the ranking. And let's start off with that. How do you feel a few days after coming off an amazing and impressive performance the other night?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing going into this fight was like, oh man, I don't know if I will really jump up, kind of just the unknown of what the guys at the ranking will do. But when I found out this morning, okay, number 5 in my weight class and the 12th in like all the weights, I got really happy about that. And yeah, I'm just so excited. I think I showed a great performance. If it was like maybe a dog fight and we win the 3 rounds, maybe I wouldn't have jumped so high, so I'm really, glad with the submission. And I think that kind of made a big statement for the rest of the girls in the division, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I mean, like David said too, such a great performance. Even afterwards, I texted your coach, Jason Perillo, and I said, wow, like she looks amazing in there. Did that kind of go out like how you expected it to play out?
Yeah, that was our strategy, was kind of to pressure and obviously take Nina down. She's a striker, so we didn't want to like stay 3 rounds and maybe get, a broken nose again or something like that. So we definitely knew the way to win this fight was going to be going to the ground. But even like talking with, Jason Perillo, for example, when I got, like, I heard her, I think maybe 1 or 2 punches, not that I heard her, but I felt the punch land and then I get too excited, so that's kind of the thing that we say, like, oh, we really want to work on that for when I fight, the champ or to go for the championship belt is to have that, you feel when you're hurting the person and not, risk, a bad position or something going in, getting too excited. So just kind of, controlling that. So of course it's good to get a first round submission. I think I'm the most submissions in first round for the women's division. So I'm really happy with that. But it's good to be able to test your boxing and see where you need to get better. And we don't have that chance, So I know in a boxing standpoint, to see if we're ready for the, the best of the best. Fight like this doesn't really give you too much to work with, but just back in the gym and work on everything, right?
After your loss and your only loss in the UFC to Amanda Ribas, it seems like you've just improved so much, not just physically, but mentally. What would you say has been the biggest change overall to all the success that you've been having?
I think the mindset is the most, like, important thing, I think, for all the fighters. So I kind of got this rhythm that, I was at Black House still with Amanda Ribas and Hannah Cipher. So now I'm just at a good structure. I kind of got in my mind, okay, I need a new coach. I need to be at a good place in my career, my life. So that way my career will, really take off. And that's something now I feel like my days in jiu-jitsu when I won all my world titles and things like that, that's what I feel I'm getting that rhythm now in MMA, So if it's the same as jiu-jitsu, I think we'll have good results, So I know what you need to be the best. Of course, it's a different sport, but yeah, I think I'm really starting to just be in a good mindset and not overconfident. I respect all my opponents, but yeah, I'm getting that confidence in my whole personal life.
And I was talking to Helen before we started this interview, and all respect to the karate hottie Michelle Watterson, but I think you've solidified yourself in a position to become the first female UFC champion that's given birth, that has a child. What does that mean to you to be in contention for that? And we can get into who you want as your next opponent and what the lineage would look like. But what does that feeling mean to you? Is that a real special thing that holds true to you? Is that an aspiration of yours? Where does that stack on the career accomplishments? Because you have the pedigrees in jiu-jitsu, as you mentioned before.
Yeah, I don't think it's so important to be the first. I think even like when my jiu-jitsu days, me always trying to accomplish things that maybe no one has accomplished. I was never like, oh, I'm going to be the first to maybe dethrone someone who hadn't been undefeated, thing like that. But I always had in my mind it's possible, So the same with Mom Champ. I know it's possible, I know I believe I'll do it one day, if I'll be the first or not. It's not, that wasn't the biggest thing for me. But like I said, the things are just kind of flowing and I'm kind of like, okay, maybe I will be the first, as long as I'm focused on myself, look how things are happening. So yeah, if I'm the first or not, just accomplishing, being a Mom Champ is a huge accomplishment, it's like everything we work for. And I think I'm even going to post, my, from one fight to the next, my transformation physically wise. And I think people will see, like, man, when I came into UFC, I was this girl that's just kind of like having fun and, had some talent, but, just living life, like fighting to make some money to go party. And that's it, and kind of enjoying that time. And now it's like, okay, she's focused and she's taking this serious, and her daughter did kind of this whole transformation to her. So I think it's cool that people have been following me from the beginning of my UFC career to now. And I think they really enjoy that change. I think everyone goes through that, like their phases in life, and it's really, really cool. So hopefully I can get that Mom Champ and yeah.
Absolutely. And speaking of being a mother, how do you think your motivation and your drive has changed from before and then now after giving birth and being a mom?
Oh, I think it, can you repeat the question? I think it, the connection went bad.
How has your motivation and your drive compare from before to now after giving birth and being a mom?
Oh, it's so much. So just the changes. I think I talked with you guys, like maybe my first fight coming back, and everything's just like, oh, if you have a bad day, being with your daughter, it's like, oh, and that's why this fight was so important to me with Nina. Because even after the fight, I know what she was going through. I know that her going back home and staying at the hotel with her baby, with Reagan and Amanda, it's like, man, she's just going to be a better fighter. So, yeah, you just kind of stop giving importance to things that aren't important, like a bad day of training, things like that. You find the true motivation to things. And my daughter's like, I never have to look for motivation, it's always motivating all the time. So I think that's the biggest change from before having a baby and now being a mom.
I have to ask you this random question. I know you're at Ruka. Michael Bisping, he's been making appearances there. I've seen you in the videos. What was the interaction like with him and Luke Rockhold? Was it as peachy as it seemed to be on social media? Was there any kind of hesitation before they embraced and they hugged it out? What was that interaction like?
No, it was good. They're both kind of like taking little jabs at each other, but in a fun, kind of like, hey, what experience we had with each other and stuff like that, and look where we are, both at the same gym and training. So yeah, definitely good terms, and just playing with each other was funny. Everyone's like kind of feeling, everyone's training, but looking on the side of their eyes, like on the corner of the eye to see like, okay, really what's going to happen, So it was good.
It's good to hear from those two because they're great
Yeah.
personalities.
Well, speaking of Ruka, what's the biggest thing that you've learned from Coach Jason Perillo since you've started working with him?
Oh, with Coach Jason Perillo, man, he's making me see boxing as I see jiu-jitsu, like really understanding it and understanding that, okay, you have setups and you try and get the person to go to one way and you just start kind of melting things together. So he's really, I think, the best coach out there. I don't know if he's like that with every single person, but with me, he really brought me understanding. He knew how to make me understand the stand-up in a way that I understand my jiu-jitsu, how I think about jiu-jitsu, so he understands that I think a lot. I'm always like questioning everything, and have these doubts, and now I can just train and relax. And I feel like one day, he always told me, like one day I hope that I can do a fight and he won't have to say anything, like he can just be like, yeah, and I'll be able to just feel everything and know when to slip and when to take down and when to, counter the counters or, and feints and all these things. So really showed me like true potential that I have as a striker, and being a striker, blending that into my ground game. He's not trying to make me a striker, 100% striker, like things like that, but he's really giving me the confidence to connect my striking with my grappling, since I hate wrestling really.
Yeah, what we see in the evolution, just from being cage side in the UFC Apex, you're comfortable to take the fight where it goes, not to force it. Like if the fight's on the ground, we know where you dominate, but you're not afraid to stand and to test the waters, and you've been evolving every single time. So we see that. So let's get to you, and let's get to the next step with you. You jumped all the way to number 5 in the rankings. If we look at number 6, there's Marina Rodriguez. There's Carla Esparza at 4 below you, Yan Xiaonan, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who went off of probably the greatest fight I saw of 2020, if not one of the greatest fights I've ever seen, against the champ, Weili. So my question to you is, of those names that I just mentioned, is there anyone that you like stylistically that you'd want to fight? Because I imagine this next fight, you want it to be for a title eliminator fight.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know how strict they are. I know Nina, she had came off a loss before me. So really, like, if they have I imagine the winner, a lot of things are going to happen right in the next couple of weeks. We have Carla with young China, I think you say her name.
Yeah.
And, Rose with Zhang Weili. So a lot of things are going to happen in that top 4. I'm really excited to see. And hopefully, I believe who wins between Carla Esparza, maybe they'll go to fight for the belt between who wins of Rose and Zhang Weili. But maybe I fight who loses, I was thinking about that, who loses between them, or who loses like from the champ. And if it's the champ or Rose, whoever loses between them to fight. But Joanna, she doesn't have a fight scheduled, and even if it's like, I don't know, Marina or someone I really wanted to someone in front of me. So I hopefully, no matter what happens at the fights in the next couple of weeks, no one gets too injured so they can fight pretty soon, because I really want to kind of get one more fight in the next 3 months, 4 months, something like that, to stay active. I think I have this momentum that I don't want to take too much time off. I really want to take advantage of that. So hopefully, if someone doesn't get too badly injured, whoever loses, they'll want to like try and jump back in and really show that they're still, still there in the rankings and the title contender and things like that. So we'll see. One of the girls that will happen the next couple of weeks.
And looking at that title fight coming right around the corner, how do you see that one playing out between Rose and Zhang Weili?
Yeah, I think Zhang Weili should keep the title. I think if anyone can do it, it's Rose, because when I look at Zhang Weili, I think, okay, I would try to submit her. I wouldn't want to try to stay standing up with her for 5 rounds, things like that. And I know that Rose has some crazy submission game. She has those long legs. She does like flying arm bars and things like that. So I really believe if there's anyone that, in my mind, strategically wise, can beat Zhang Weili, I think it's Rose. But I think Zhang Weili, she just has such a good momentum in her life. She looks, I I don't judge like social media and things like that, but all the time it's just posts like training. She just seems so focused, So I think it's kind of hard to take her off the throne right now. But I think Rose can do it, but I think Zhang Weili will end up keeping the belt a little bit longer.
And how about the fight a few weeks from now as well? Carla Esparza against Yan Xiaonan.
Yeah, I think I'm seeing like Carla Esparza, she's kind of kind of got this wave, and she looks like she's kind of gotten momentum again. She was the ex-champ, then she lost a couple fights, and then she was kind of, I felt like seeing her fights, she was kind of doing okay, and now I feel like she's starting to come back and really get a rhythm and use her experience that she has in the division. She's the first champ of the division. She opened up the division for us, so I think she knows what it takes to be the champ again, and she really wants that. So I think that Carla's gonna end up beating young Shannon, but just with her wrestling, her takedowns, I think she's really on point right now. And from the fights I saw of young Shan, I saw some openings for takedowns and things like that, so I really think that Carla's gonna have her experience and take the win on that fight.
Now, you mentioned social media and whatnot. I follow you on social media, and I saw your recent post of your daughter and Amanda and Nina's daughter, and they were kind of helping each other walk. What was that experience, just seeing, the bond of the daughters?
Yeah, it's so pure, you can tell that they don't have like any, it's like no racism, no nothing, they don't see anything. It's just no color, nothing, there's no winning or losing or, who's, they just see like each other. And Moa, for example, she was so excited to be like with the little baby, and helping her, and Reagan's just watching, and, it's really cool to see that pure love that the kids have and like innocence, and everything that they do, and I think I'm really lucky that something like martial arts in MMA brought me that moment, like at home or something that was like, man, at my work, I work with this, and be able to have that at my work, something so, the true meaning, it was really, really, really special, and especially with, Amanda Nunes and Nina Nunes, they're such great girls. I really admire them. And my husband was there, my dad was there. It was a really cool moment.
And Mo is turning 2 soon, right? Coming up in June?
Yep, in June.
Already. Do you have any plans?
Well, I don't know. We want to try to take a trip, but if I get a fight scheduled, then probably we'll stay at home. We'll do like maybe the summer birthday, right? Have like ice cream cake or something, she's not big on cakes and things like that, but it's cool that now the birthdays, they're starting to really start to understand things, so we're really, really excited for her. 2 years old. I can't believe it. She's not a baby anymore.
I remember that interview we all did when we were at the gym, and she was still a tiny baby.
Yeah, I think that was before my first fight, right? With her coming back. So I fought with 4 months, and I think she was like maybe 3 months, 3.5 months. It was a couple weeks before. So yeah, she was so small,
It's crazy how quickly time flies. I have to ask you also, I love the post-fight celebration victory when you jump on the cage. I know that the Nevada State Athletic Commission, they frowned upon that. Did you feel them tapping you off the back? Did you know that they didn't want you to do that, but you did it anyway because you're in the moment, you're excited, another first round victory, and you just did what your heart told you to do?
I mean, like, I always said, like, I always wanted to go on top of the cage, of course, with the, so it's kind of more, I really wanted to do it. I was like, man, hopefully I'll take a big jump, my career on number 5. So this is something to be really, really happy about, So I kind of went, I looked at my coach, like, is it okay? I can go, He's like, yeah, go, Perilla. He's like, yeah, go ahead. So I like went up there. I'd even went kind of slow. I think like just climb up, it wasn't like that run and jump up. And I got up there. I'm like, okay, it's cool view, but where's Dana? Where's everyone? I wasn't seeing anybody. So I was like, okay, this is like more just experience for me. So I was really happy with that. And as soon as they touch me, I'm like, okay, I'm getting down, and I'll save it for a big event or something like that.
Do you notice any difference wearing the Venum kits versus the Reebok kits? Because you were one of the first females in the cage to be sporting a Venum kit.
Yeah, it's crazy. When I was trying it on, I'm like, man, I feel like it's kind of stiff a little bit. The material's a little bit thicker, so I kind of felt a little bit stiff in it. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna be. And after I started to I had to do basically the whole media day with the outfit on, because it was kind of short time. So they just wear it, for the whole media day. And as I was like walking around and stuff, like, oh, okay, kind of, as a woman, it keeps everything, good. And I felt like was higher and stuff. So I liked it. I liked it a lot, And the shocked. I had 7 fights with Reebok, so I was kind of like, oh, it's so different. And yeah, now that I won it, and I think it's great.
And you made your UFC debut, I believe it was UFC 222, March 2018.
Mhm.
So it's been a little over 3 years. What has this journey been like for you?
Yeah, it's been such a crazy journey. I think starting as, like I said before, that kind of young, just living the life girl, and I think I got so much maturity in my career as a person. People kind of followed my career like, oh wow, she's growing up, she's being more like adult, and things like that. Having a baby, yeah, it's like 3 years, but I think like I stayed 9 months off, so it's a lot of ups and downs. But it's been really good kind of seeing this new era of Venum and things like that in the UFC. I'm excited. And I think we're kind of in the middle of changing generations, for at least for the strawweight division. I think a lot of the kind of the last couple of girls that were from the beginning are still in it, but I think we have a lot of girls from the Contender Series jumped in. So I think we're kind of at this change of generations for the strawweight division, and I'm really excited of how everything worked out in my career. I think that Moa coming at that time was a great time, that now I kind of have this opportunity to be fighting for the title pretty soon and welcoming the new contenders, maybe in a couple of years from now. I can welcome them as a champ, hopefully. So I'm really enjoying the whole time in the UFC. 3 years seems like so little, So I think like, man, only 3 years, and half of the time I was pregnant, and I kind of have these records that I'm trying to break, and I feel like I can accomplish so much in the UFC, and maybe be kind of, of course I don't want to be like Ronda Rousey, but be a big figure for the UFC, and as a woman, and maybe like having Brazil and USA and all these things. So hopefully people identify themselves with my story, and that we can, have a lot of success in the UFC more.
Hall of Fame aspirations, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's so much training, so much training to just be kind of like forgotten, as soon as you stop fighting, so you definitely want everything we're doing now in the training all the time, dedication, even the stuff that like my family goes through being part of this, it's definitely to be in there for like the long run, set records, Hall of Fame kind of thing.
She wants to return 3 to 4 months from now. Great opponents lined up ahead of her. We really appreciate you joining us on the Schmozone podcast. Any final last message that you want to leave for our audience?
No, just thank you everyone for always watching, for supporting. I hope to always put on a show for everybody. Sorry, someone called me. Sorry. I hope to always put a show on for everybody. And yeah, thank you guys always for having me. It's always great to talk to you guys. I really enjoy it.
We appreciate your time. Enjoy the family, enjoy the victory, enjoy beautiful California, and we'll see you soon.
Yay, thank you guys.